Meeting for Monday, August 2nd, order. Roll call.
Mayor Calvin.
Here.
Councilmember Fagerly. Here. Osmus. Here. Butterfield.
Here.
O'Brien.
Here.
Osk.
Here.
Davis. Here. Plowman.
Here.
Nelson. Here. 9 present, 0 absent.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any proposed additions or deletions to the agenda?
Mayor, I'd
Ms.
like to
Valiant?
add the introduction of our Health and Human Resources personnel and a personnel update
Okay.
after the public hearing, after number 8.
Okay. And then do you also want to add a update on 2nd Street Southeast?
Sure.
You want that at the end or you want that at?
Let's do that at the end.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to adopt the amended agenda. I will also be making some comments under the Community Pride announcements about the United Night of Worship, which will be on August 29th. The motion been made and seconded. Discussion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion does carry. Next, we have consent items. Ms. Thompson.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, on tonight's consent agenda, we have for council's approval the city council minutes of July 19th, Willmar Municipal Utilities Commission minutes of July 26th, accounts payable report for July 9th through July 22nd, application for exempt permit from Glacial Ridge Curling, application for temporary liquor license permit Foxhole Brew House, Park and Recreation Board minutes of June 16th, a resolution for consideration of consent to lease Pioneer Land Library, a resolution to authorize architect for auditorium historic building assessment.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Fagerly.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
O'Brien. Osk.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Plowman.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
That motion passes as well. Next, we have a hearing, and the hearing is on an ordinance amending City Code Section 3-93. It'll be presented by Captain Anderson with the Willmar Police Department. And at this time, I will open the public hearing. Captain Anderson.
Morning, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. You are stuck with me tonight. The chief is up helping with the fallen officer that passed away here last week. So
How about we take a moment and just remember the fallen officer? That might be appropriate at this
I
point.
appreciate that.
Go ahead, Captain Anderson.
All right, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This evening is the public hearing for an amendment to the Willmar City Code Section 3-93 that would allow on-sale liquor sale at boxing, mixed martial art matches, and other specific contests regulated by the Minnesota Boxing Commission. The current ordinance prohibits liquor sales in conjunction with these events. The amendment would add specific law enforcement and security requirements to the ordinance to allow such events. Upon completion of the public hearing, it would be staff's recommendation to adopt, assign a number, and publish the ordinance amending Willmar City Code Section 3-93.
Okay, so thank you for your introductory comments. Anybody from the public that wishes to speak to this item? Seeing and hearing none, I will close the public hearing, bring it to the council table. Council, what are your wishes?
I'll move to approve it.
Motion been made. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Motion's been seconded. There's been a motion made and seconded to approve amending the ordinance section code 3-93, which would, in essence, allow alcohol to be served at mixed martial arts events. Discussion, Councilmember Plowman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Captain Anderson, for presenting this tonight. I don't know if you were at our last council meeting, but we had some thoughts or some possible modifications that could have been made. Are you aware of, or do you know what those, what the results were of those recommended modifications?
Yeah, I believe the modifications were made by the attorney to, I think it's one security officer per 200 people or one staff member per 300 people. It would be about 12 to 15 security officers for the amount of people they want there, or more than that for staff. I think I got some rough numbers here. Yeah, it'd be about 40 to 50 staff members that they would have there in attendance to help with security and maintaining order.
If I may.
Captain Anderson, just a correction, I think it's one private security guard per 50 instead of one per 300?
I'm sorry, yes, it's if there was security guards, it'd be one per 200.
Yep,
One per 200. And if it was,
private security,
yep, that's private security.
okay?
And if it's just staff that is working there, whether they're taking concessions or taking tickets, it would be 1 per 50.
Correct, okay.
And that is in conjunction with the 2 hired officers.
That is correct.
Altogether.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So and those are licensed security guards. It's not just someone that could say they're a security guard. They're licensed by the state of Minnesota, I think.
They are. They have to be regulated and licensed through the state of Minnesota.
Right.
Okay. And that is in combination with 2 actual police officers. Because I've had a few questions about that. Are they real officers? Is everybody going to and I just wanted to clarify that, yes, there will be officers there as
There
well.
will be 2 uniformed Willmar police officers there, and then a mixture of security and staff that they have there, depending on how many security officers they get and how many staff members they have working.
Thank you.
Yes.
Additional comments or questions? Councilmember Osmus?
I just think the one that maybe is what's a little confusing on this is it says at least one licensee personnel member for every 50 attendees. So it makes it seem like it's a licensed personnel, but it's the person who's putting in for the event, that licensee personnel.
Yes.
But
That is
that's,
my-
I think that's the word that's confusing.
Yeah, and I think what that refers to is any of the staff they have
Right.
working.
So,
Additional comments or questions? Councilmember Fagerly?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So additional staff, and I see Rob, our Park and Rec Director, is here. Are you gonna have staff there for the concessions?
Correct.
Are they included in this then?
Yeah, so my understanding is, and maybe Rob can speak to this more clearly, but my understanding is that they're providing the staff, the company that's hosting the event, they'll be providing staff that works there and they work the concessions or takes tickets, all that.
Yeah, we're going to run the concession stand so that they will be away from the actual event inside the Civic Center. They will be controlling the ticket sales and everything. So we'll have our own staff as far as maintenance-wise goes, as far as the concession stand and collection of garbage that we can take out the building. They're going to have their own personnel observing the match and everything, and it's going to be a licensed group out of St. Cloud that they're working with.
So who's paying you then? Is it
We're going to have our concession stand that will come out of our budget because we're going to generate all the income from the concession stand. And part of their rental agreement is going to be the maintenance of cleaning up the garbage and cleaning up the event afterwards. But they're going to get charged for that,
Yeah,
for that
and
staff
liquor
time.
will be a different
Correct,
vendor.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
Additional comments or questions? Councilmember Nelson?
Thank you, Mayor Calvin. My question is actually about the alcohol. I mean, we've been pretty particular when we've issued a permit that that's someone that we know and the procedures and kind of the requirements for the people serving and all of those types of things. The local businesses that we have done this in the past have gone through the regular training and all of those kinds of things. Should there be something in this ordinance about, it appears that our next motion is someone that I don't have a clue who it is, it's from out of town. I know they have to meet liquor requirements. But as far, is there something that should be in here about who we're allowing to get the permit as far as regulation?
Sure. So I think, council can do what they want to do, but I think there's a system set up already for permitting people, and they get vetted that way. And so whoever gets the liquor permit for out there would have been vetted by department heads, and council, I think, would have probably seen that.
It's the next
I
item
don't-
on our agenda.
Yeah, and this has been approved already. I think, is it Mrs. D's or? They've already been approved. They've been through the background check, and they've been approved already, is my understanding.
So you see those as two separate items completely?
This is something new, so I think council kind of has to figure out which way you want to go. We haven't had a lot of liquor sales at a lot of things in the past, so this is kind of new ground for us. So I think you folks need to decide what you want to do and how you want to move forward with it, and we will follow up on anything that you need.
Well, I know I had listened to concerns from some of the vendors about, insurance requirements and the amount of paperwork and, just making sure that we're crossing the Ts and dotting the Is. And so since this is new territory, it's just a little disconcerting, I think, right now that it's not someone from our area that's going to be providing and serving, with that, and just kind of, we know the history of the ones that have done it here. And so I haven't found a comfort level for this yet for me, but I don't know that there's a reason, specifically to turn it down either. But I just don't want something, I want to make sure we're crossing the Ts and dotting the Is to make sure it's done right the first time, so.
Councilmember Nelson, are you wishing to make an amendment to the ordinance that would require a local state licensed vendor? Currently, I believe it just says a state licensed vendor on the alcohol permit, correct? So that would, if we're gonna do
Yeah.
that, we should change that in all our liquor ordinances.
For the alcohol portion, that is a separate agenda item.
Right.
So that is any licensed alcohol provider, anyone that holds a liquor license in the state of Minnesota can come in, like Captain Anderson stated. They have been approved, their background checks through our local police department.
Sure. So if we wanted to make an amendment to make this more restrictive, we certainly could make an amendment that would simply state that on these type of situations, it would have to be a local vendor. I think that would be a substantial change to the ordinance, Mr. Scott?
Mayor, I would agree that would be a substantial change, which means the council can make it, but it would require republication and another public hearing at a subsequent meeting before it could be approved.
Would you wish to do that?
I don't know that that was my intent as much as, we've been pretty cautious and careful with that. I just want to make sure we're doing that same thing in this format. And, I guess I'm curious what other people think about it. So they're responsible for serving the alcohol. They're responsible for making sure that all of those requirements are done. I just want to make sure we're crossing the Ts and dotting the Is, so.
So I think, Councilmember Nelson, I believe that your questions appear to be more on the next agenda item, not on the current agenda item, unless you're wishing to make that ordinance more restrictive.
No, I think Captain Anderson and Ms. Thompson answered the questions. I understand the separation. I just have a little anxiety over it, so it's okay.
Additional comments or questions? Councilmember Plowman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think we all maybe have some of the same concerns, and as Captain Anderson iterated that, we haven't done events like this in the recent past. So this is kind of a trial period, and this is something that everybody just wants to make sure it goes smoothly, and we don't want any problems. And I'm wondering if anything in the ordinance, and I read it once, but I probably should have read it more in depth. Is there anything in there regarding the structure or the organization? So there's going to be officers there, but there will also be security personnel. Are the officers going to be just kind of there as standby, or who is in charge of security and who's coordinating all of that? Maybe that's a better question for Rob. I'm not sure.
Well, he can certainly come up. I think they've secured a licensed security firm who I assume will have some type of hierarchy or structure. But certainly any criminal matters that come up or any disorderly conducts or if there's underage drinking, that would come to us.
Okay. So Willmar Police trump everybody in the building,
Yes.
essentially.
That's our building. This is our facility.
Okay.
I'd agree with what he said, that there's going to be a lead person in charge of the security, and then there's going to be the people that are underneath them that are going to be surrounding the rink and everything like that to make sure that conduct is everyone's in behavior.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Councilmember Plowman, maybe what we could suggest, if you, along those lines, is that, so on events, and Captain Anderson probably has attended a lot of these, but on events that happen that are out of the ordinary, there's an emergency management team that gets together and reviews it. So maybe for this first one, maybe we could suggest that it gets done so that you guys, run it through, emergency management planning and preparation, so that you guys can look at that. Would you have more comfort with that?
Yeah, I don't see any harm in it. I guess the more planning, as far as, if there's a solid game plan and if everybody knows, if it's well structured, well organized, and everybody goes into it with a good game plan. If it's not something that sets the event back or is, requires substantive changes to what we're doing here, I mean, that may throw a wrench in the spokes, but if it's something that can just be a local planning thing between our people, the city's people, and the event organizers, coordinators, I don't see any harm in that whatsoever. I think that'd be good.
And then maybe we can just ask Chief Felt to report that back, or Chief Hansen as the emergency management coordinator.
I don't see any harm in that. I wonder what the council would think of that idea.
I think that's a great idea. Councilmember Davis, followed by Osmus.
Okay,
Sorry, were you not done?
I'm wondering, is it just beer and wine, or will it be hard alcohol?
My
Or,
understanding is just beer and wine, correct?
okay, thank you.
Councilmember Osmus, followed by Nelson.
Okay, as far as the security piece, I think having it run through the emergency management is a good idea. I compare it to the Sunshine Music Festival that we used to have in town. They had hundreds of security people that they employed, but then the police department was also out there, and they were in charge of everything.
That's the exact same way. That's the first thing I thought of too, was
Yeah.
around at Sunshine. Same thing.
Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you. You used the term licensed security company. Is that a state licensed, or how do you get a license to be?
It is, yeah. They're required to register with the state. They have to be licensed through the state of Minnesota. They've got a huge list on the state of licensed security firms. And I know the one that they're looking at is licensed.
Thank you.
Okay, I think additional comments from council. I'm going to speak against this ordinance. I think the city of Willmar has, in 2007, put this ordinance in place. I think it was done with utmost of caution and concern. I think that I've thought a lot about this since 2 weeks ago when I made my comments that sounded pretty supportive of this. But the more I've thought about this, the more I go back to the conversations that happened in 2007, and alcohol and fighting are never a good combination. And I know that the participants of the event are not partaking of alcohol, but you do have the people that do attend it as well. So as from the mayor's office, I would speak against this, but it is a council decision, not the mayor's decision. With that, roll call.
Councilmember Osmus.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Ask.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Plowman.
Aye.
Nelson.
No.
Fagerly.
Aye.
7 ayes, 1 nay.
That resolution passes. Next, we have an update and an introduction of our new HR director, Ms. Valiant.
What about the alcohol piece? Oh.
Good evening, council. Tonight, I'd like to introduce our new Human Resource Director, Luann Sitzema. We're very pleased to have her. She started on Friday, and She's hit the ground running, like all of us have. So she's going to provide even a little bit of personnel update for you also that's been going on over the last couple weeks here, so.
2 days. 2-day update.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
Welcome.
Mayor and council members. It's nice to see you. So a little bit about me, just I've been in human resources for about 30-plus years, so and public employment has been part of it. So I was excited to come to the city and to kind of learn how it happens here. So thank you for having me. The update we have is just a little employee update. We have a couple of resignations I wanted to report to you. Dave Ramstead, the Planning and Development Director, has resigned. He'll be done at the end of August. And we're working, both Leslie and I are working on the recruitment for that. And also Tom Rosemeyer, the building official, is retiring at the end of 2021, and we're going to be working on a replacement for him as well. So we're working on both of those positions, and then we are also working on some of our, just re-looking at our employee organizational chart, just to kind of see where things are, where the holes are, and to make sure it's updated, because there's been a lot of changes. So any questions for me?
Thank you very much for your report. And council, any questions or comments? Councilmember Davis.
I just want to say welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Councilmember Osmus.
I don't know who all was able to attend the new employee coffee
Yeah.
last week, but I believe there was also an IT person that was
Yes.
recently hired.
Yes.
That wasn't announced, or, I
Oh,
don't
okay.
know.
Yeah. He'll be starting on Thursday of this week, so we'll be doing some orientation and getting him up and running as well, hitting the ground running. So, as of Thursday.
Jerry Ritka?
Oh, yes.
Jerry Ritka is the gentleman that'll be starting on Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay,
So he'll be
Thank you.
replacing Ross, maybe,
yes.
Yep.
in that position. Additional comments or questions? On behalf of the mayor's office, I'm very happy to see that you're an employee of the city of Willmar. We had an opportunity to have a conversation last week on your first day of work, actually. And actually, this morning, we had a little opportunity for an update as well. So thank you very much for choosing Willmar to work. Your skill set fits perfectly with us. You have extensive experience with union negotiations, PERA, all of those types of things.
Right.
So we're very excited to have you on board, so welcome. And we know you've hit the ground running, and so we want to see on the plus side of the margin, not the negative side of the
Yeah,
margin.
right.
So
I didn't tell you
got a little
anything
work to do,
negative.
so.
No.
Okay, thank you
All
very
right,
much.
thank you.
Yeah, appreciate that. With that, consideration of Civic Center special event on sale, off sale, Ms. Thompson.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, as was indicated earlier during our ordinance hearing, the Civic Center has rented space to Huff Entertainment to hold a cage fighting extreme event on August 28th, 2021, with plans to serve alcohol during the event. And Mama D's Green Lantern LLC, doing business as Green Lantern, has applied for these permits with on-site employee listed as Carl Larson. And we also indicated that they had passed the background checks through the police department, so it's staff's recommendation to approve.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the liquor license to Mama D's Green Lantern LLC. Discussion. Councilmember Nelson.
Just where are they located out of? A question.
I have that paperwork back at the office. I'm sorry, I forgot to indicate that on here.
Thought it was on the application. I thought I
Do you remember, Captain Anderson?
I don't, I'm sorry, the chief signed that one.
Yeah.
I can look it up here, I'm probably gonna find it. I'll let you know.
Councilmember Plowman is saying Brainerd.
Councilmember Plowman believes it's out of Brainerd. I'm not sure. I thought I'd heard St. Cloud, but Brainerd?
Crosby.
I know they're up
Crosby?
north somewhere.
So I have Mama D's Green Lantern LLC out of Crosby, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Just, Councilmember Osk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Thompson, could you give us a little background on when you were doing the background check. Can you explain? I know Minnesota Department of Health suspended their license back in January, according to the Attorney General's website. Do you know what the status of that is?
Okay. Mr. Osk, or Councilmember Osk, the background checks are conducted through our police department, so I would defer that question to Captain Anderson.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I was on my phone. Could you ask that again? I was looking up the,
Sure. According to the Attorney General's website, the Minnesota Department of Health suspended their license in January. Can you speak to that?
I cannot, I'm sorry, I didn't sign off on any of the paperwork.
Are you sure that wasn't a Minnesota Department of Health doesn't, I don't think, weigh in on liquor license? I think has to mainly do with probably eating establishments.
Okay.
The Drug and Alcohol Department would be the one to suspend a liquor license.
So their food license might be suspended?
Their food license would be through the Department of Health.
And alcohol licenses are through the Gambling and Alcohol Department of the state.
I'm concerned, I guess, about, this speaks to Councilwoman Nelson's concerns and some concerns raised by the mayor as well, concerned about entering into an agreement with an organization that we don't even know where they're located. And this raises more concerns for me as well, not being able to know exactly what, again, Minnesota Department of Health issued a cease and desist order and notice of license suspension January 8th.
Yes, and I believe that would be food-oriented, not liquor-oriented.
Mm-hmm.
Suspension for a liquor license would come through the Gambling and Drug and Alcohol Enforcement Agency.
What kind of,
And that would be if they were serving minors and things like that. That's what we would be looking for in background checks. And if they had their liquor license suspended due to not paying their liquor license, not paying their taxes, that kind of thing would come through the Drug and Alcohol Department, not the Department of Health.
what kind of violations would cause Minnesota Department of Health to suspend their license then?
Could be food-related, could be the condition of the restaurant.
None of it would speak well, in my opinion, I guess, of the organization.
Mm-hmm.
Councilmember Nelson.
I was just asking for clarifications. We have a motion and a second. If it's something that we could add on to the motion to seek clarification of this, I'm not quite sure how we'd accomplish if it's apples and oranges, where our comfort level is, but if there's something out there that is a concern, that we make it subject to review.
Councilmember Nelson, members of the council, I think at this point, your options would be to approve the license, deny the license, although I'm concerned about the record, whether there's sufficient grounds to deny it if the stated concern is the suspension of a likely food-related license through the Department of Health. Otherwise, of course, the council could table the action and take it up again at your next council meeting.
Additional comments or questions? Councilmember Osk, followed by Davis.
I'd move to table the motion.
I guess I would like to see us use.
Motion is on the table. For table, it either has to be seconded or dies for lack of a second. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Roll call.
Councilmember Butterfield,
Is this to table or?
this is to table.
So an affirmative vote would table it and take it off the table for tonight. A negative vote would keep the discussion going.
Nay.
O'Brien.
Nay.
Osk.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Plowman.
Nay.
Nelson.
Aye.
Fagerly. Osmus.
No.
That motion
Five.
to table files, Councilmember Davis. I believe it was 7-2. I'm sorry. 5-3.
Three ayes, 5 nays.
Councilmember Davis.
Oh, I just was wondering why they didn't pick someone local. That's all.
Councilmember Plowman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't think that it should be that difficult of a thing for us to be able to gather a little bit more information. And I don't have a problem, I guess I don't have a problem with delaying the vote, because I hate to make a decision based on speculation. So if we're going to sit here and speculate as to why or how or who or what or whatever, maybe a perfectly reputable business with great owners and all of that, but we're making this decision based on speculation. And I think there should be some way to gather some facts or have somebody that's able to speak a little bit more in detail regarding this specific organization before we necessarily go ahead and make a decision one way or the other.
Additional comments? Councilmember Nelson.
Just thinking time-wise, if we do delay this tonight to gather more information, our next meeting is the 16th of August, and what does that do to their time frame?
Does anybody remember when the event is? It's the 26th, isn't it?
26th or 29th?
August 28th is the event.
August
That would
28th.
still allow us some time to submit their license to the state.
Councilmember Fagerly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Trying to pick up where I'm at here, going down the roll, so.
No, I agree with Councilmember Nelson. It'd be nice to hire local, because that's what people are thinking. But this is America, and you're free to choose your best deal. So they probably got the best deal from them. But if there was a violation, I think the background check would have came back with the alcohol. Hell, if they have a restaurant up in Crosby, Arrington, that's something different. They won't be serving food here, it's just gonna be alcohol. So, and I'm not sure if the police department will have a sting on or not, but they may, so. They may be,
A compliance check.
well, I call it a sting, but compliance, okay.
If we're gonna have any bees there.
So I'm okay with giving them a try. So.
Captain Anderson, can you try texting Chief Felt to see if he's got any information on the concern that Councilmember Osk has brought to the table? Councilmember Nelson.
Okay, I'm going to ask the question the reverse. If we approve it tonight and we find something out in the next, can we remove it?
Can we rescind it?
Can we resend it?
Attorney Scott.
Again, Councilmember Nelson, that would be a motion, that would be an action to revoke a license that had been issued. You would need cause under your ordinance for the revocation. I think if you found that something in the application were not honestly or accurately presented to the city, that would be grounds to revoke a license you've issued. But if all the information was accurately provided in the application, then likely not.
Just asking.
Councilmember Osmus.
I believe Mr. Baumgart would like to speak.
I'm not looking over there for hands waving.
Mayor, member of the council.
Sorry, Rob.
Our reporter gave us some information. The reason why they were in violations because they didn't follow the governor's orders when it came to COVID guidelines.
Okay. Additional comments or questions? Councilmember Osk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the research. Again, it strikes me as evidence of a business that's not following the proper regulations that are set for them. If they're willing to decline to follow the governor's executive orders, what else are they going to decline to follow as they come in to Willmar as well?
Additional comments or questions? This takes 6 votes to pass. Councilmember, or City Attorney Scott, that's correct, right? Alcohol is 6 votes?
Mayor, I don't believe this takes 6 votes. I think this is a
Simple majority?
majority, isn't it? Simple majority.
Simple majority? Okay.
Yep.
Simple majority.
It's a roll
Councilmember
call
Nelson.
vote, but majority.
Right, roll call, right. Alcohol.
Thank you, Mayor Calvin. If I heard staff correctly, they have crossed the Ts and dotted the Is, and I believe our city attorney has also told us that there is really, the way our ordinance is written, there isn't a reason to deny them. Would I be correct in stating it in that manner?
Mayor, members of the council, when you're considering a license application, the city council is able to deny that application. To do so, you need to make findings, and they need to be related to the specific license being applied for, in this case, a liquor license. It is possible, and I have to apologize, this issue did not reach me before the meeting, so I wasn't aware that there were any issues with this applicant. It is possible that a finding could be made based on information that a licensee has a pattern of failing to follow applicable law, and that would be the case for the governor's executive order. However, if that didn't relate to the liquor license, it would be more difficult to make that finding. And the, I guess, word of caution I would give the council if you're considering acting to deny the license is the record before you is not well developed, and I would rather advise that you table this if you are not satisfied with the applicant's information that you are aware of today. I would recommend that you table it and take it up again at your next meeting, because I think that the information that has been shared with the council is potentially helpful, but it's not well developed, and we would want to make sure that the council's findings to support a denial, if that's what the council wanted to do, were shored up a little bit.
So let me brief that just a little bit. So the council would need to have findings of fact for the denial of the application. Those findings of fact would need to be recorded as to why the council chose to deny the application. And if council wishes to table it again, they could certainly try that, or we can proceed with the vote. Council, what are your wishes? Councilmember Nelson.
I'll make a motion to table.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Roll call.
Councilmember Fagerly,
No.
Osmus,
Aye.
Butterfield,
No.
O'Brien,
No.
Osk,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Plowman,
No.
Nelson.
Aye.
Motion failed.
4-4.
Roll call.
Councilmember Osk,
I'm sorry, what are we voting on?
Voting to approve the consideration of a Civic Center special event on sale liquor license.
Thank you. No.
Davis,
No.
Plowman,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Fagerly,
Aye.
Osmus,
Aye.
Butterfield,
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Then 1, 2, 5, 6 ayes, 2 nays.
The motion passes. Next, we have consideration of change order for project number 2110-A downtown sanitary sewer lining. Point of order. Clerk Thompson, please, what do you call it, a division? Is that what you call it when you want to know what the vote was?
Yeah. Call it division.
I want a division on that last vote.
We had 6 ayes, which
Could you
were,
state which council members voted
Yep.
how, please?
which were cast by Councilmember Fagerly, Osmus, Butterfield, O'Brien, Plowman, and Nelson. 2 nays cast by Councilmember Osk and Davis.
Council, is that how you voted? If you didn't vote that way, let me know. Okay, The vote stands as presented. Next, we have a consideration of change order number 1 for project number 2110-A. And it looks like Jared's going to present that. Mr.
All right.
Bogie.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The item on your or in your packet this evening is, as you stated, a change order, and this is for the downtown sanitary sewer lining project. As the contractor Hydro Clean was proceeding with the sanitary sewer lining, they discovered an offset joint in the sanitary sewer. As a result, that joint needed to be fixed, and ultimately the fix was to dig that spot up in the street, repair it so that the pipe was not offset any longer, and that when the liner was installed, it wouldn't damage the liner. So that's what's before you this evening, and staff is recommending approval of change order number 1 to HydroClean in the amount of $11,925.50. I'll stand for any questions.
Council, what do you wishes?
I'll make that motion to adopt the resolution to accept Epito, and that's not it,
Downtown sanitary.
downtown sanitary.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the change order number 1 for project 2110-A for the downtown sanitary sewer lining. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Davis.
Aye.
Plowman.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Osk.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes. Thank you, Jared. Next, we have a consideration of acceptance of Epitopic's water donation. Dr. Ramstead.
Mr. Mayor, council members, for council consideration is a resolution to accept the first $53,000 donation from Epitopics for the extension of the city water line to their facility and establish restrictions on the use of said donated funds. Epitopics intends to make 3 separate donations totaling $530,000 towards the water line. Each donation shall be separately accepted by the Willmar City Council by resolution pursuant to Minnesota Statute 465.03. We have received the first $53,000 donation. The second $238,500 donation will be received on or before October 15th of this year. And the third donation of the same amount will be received on or before March 15th, 2022, next year. The 3 donations that will pay for approximately half of the water line extension and the remaining balance of $400,000 to $500,000 is planned to be paid by Willmar's federal ARP funds, per discussion that myself, Aaron Bachman, Steve Okens, and Brian Gromitz had just before he left. The remaining, so that's about $400,000 to $500,000. Both water and sewer lines are in preliminary design phase with Bolton and Mink. So for about 80 acres of land, taxable acreage that we just annexed, a new sanitary sewer line out to Epitopics, and a new water line, we're getting all those things for about $400,000 to $500,000. I'd say it's a pretty good buy. Tonight, we're just asking that the council adopt a resolution to accept the donation. We would be coming later for where exactly the funds are coming from, but the intent was that the ARP funds would be used. And with that, I will open up to questions.
Dr. Ramstead, has the council made a decision on the use of the ARP funds?
No, as I understand, it has not.
I know I had asked numerous times for this to be brought forward on a recommendation of the use of those funds. You know, we have not yet seen any, and I was always told by Mr. Gramitz, our former city administrator, that that's a staff issue. So it's a little concerning to me as the mayor to all of a sudden have us starting talking about this. I support it. I support using those funds. But does the donation, Mr. Scott, if we accept the donation, does this kind of hold the council to the fire as far as the use of ARP funds for this?
Mayor, members of the council, no, it does not. This resolution simply authorizes the city to accept Epitopix's money, the $53,000 that they've produced so far, and it places a restriction on the city's authority to spend those funds. In other words, the city cannot spend those funds on anything except the water main extension project, but it doesn't otherwise commit the city to the project or to any particular funding for the city's piece of it.
Okay. Councilmember Plowman, followed by Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Scott, should the project be tabled before any of the money is spent, I assume the funds will go back to Epitopix, where they originated?
That's correct. If any funds are of the donation, this one or any future donations under similar terms are not spent and the city elects not to proceed with the project, it would not be authorized to spend those dollars on anything else, so it should return the money to the donor.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you, Mayor Calvin. I'm just curious, since these figures have already been determined, is there some agreement with Epitopix that this is their obligation and that the city's obligated for the rest? Because we talked about this before, very supportive of the project, was aware that the city was going to have to come up with funds. I would like to know about our ARP funds before we make a decision on those. I think we have other options to fund that. So since the figures are already written here, because we have not seen an agreement with Epitopix on costs, and I know there's bonding, I know it's complicated, don't want this to be negative, but is this the first step, or should we be reviewing it completely before we agree to the figures?
Right. This is just the first step of accepting a donation. There's really no strings attached. Attorney Scott can correct me if I'm wrong, but the funding on our side of it is yet to be determined. Our initial idea is that the ARP funds would be used. We have received half of them to date, but it has not been presented. It was basically just ideas that the city administrator desired from the staff on where the monies potentially could be spent, and we thought this was a good opportunity.
I just want to clarify, I'm asking about the Epitopix figures. So how did we come up with what they needed to donate or they agreed to donate?
That's a good question. I know that Aaron Bachman, the executive director of the Economic Development Commission, negotiated that, and I will let him address that.
Good evening. Aaron Bachman, Executive Director of the EDC. Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Yes, this has been a lengthy process. We've been dealing with the Epitopix project for the last 2 years, and Mayor, much longer. They need to have the water and sewer. They are supportive of this project. They annexed in, were supportive of the annexation of their property, which was outside the city limits. They received corporate support for $530,000, which is not chicken feed. That's a significant contribution by the private sector for a $10 million plus project or expansion. They need to have sanitary sewer to handle the dirty water that goes through the production facility. They need to have the clean water so that they have fire suppression, so they can do that appropriately. If they're inside the city limits, they need to be hooked up. They need to have sprinkler system. In terms of this particular project, I think it's notable that out of the 2.6 million, 1.6 million for sanitary sewer and 1 million approximately, I'm rounding, for the fresh water, out of that 2.6 million, 70% of it is paid for by non-city funds. The $1.3 million innovative BDPI grant and the $530,000 on the private side. That's a fairly high amount for projects that we work on. If you look at where we're at right now today, and certainly Jared is aware of that, Bolton and Mink is working on the design work for the sanitary sewer line that goes over 6,000 feet. That's a haul. That's a long distance. That's why the things cost the way they do. But it hooks up to the city system. That design work should be completed by Labor Day. Now, my hope has been that we can do the water concurrent with that. Why? because when we go out for bid, it's more economical to do the water and sewer together. So that is my hope. Now, in terms of negotiations, believe me, I tried to go higher than $530,000. I asked for $1 million, and they politely shot me down. I think the $530,000 is a pretty respectable contribution by the part of the company that employs 65 people here in Willmar. After months of negotiation and so forth, we were able to settle on the $530,000. So that's how that came about.
So we were told, Dr. Ramsted, we were told at one time that the conduit was in place for the railroad. I specifically asked that question is that for the sanitary or is that for both the sanitary and the water? Do you know?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. As Mr. Bachman stated, we're currently in the preliminary design associated with the sanitary sewer. One of those components is verifying that the casings were installed beneath the railroad in the appropriate locations. That's part of our process right now. We're also working with the contractor that put them in originally to verify elevations, because as you know, they're deep and buried right now. So we're verifying that. And then also it's my understanding that there may potentially be one for the water main that was installed as well. And as Mr. Bachman stated, we have not started the water main design because that project has not been authorized by council to date. So those are definitely, we'll be investigating those casings, but that's my understanding that there should be some casings there for us. So.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Nelson.
I want to come off very clear that I'm supportive of this project. I understand it. I mean, we've gone there from the beginning. But to the resolution tonight is to accept the donation, which if what I'm hearing is saying that we are accepting that amount as their contribution to this project. But we haven't actually seen the total project yet, have we?
No. Councilman, no.
Some comments or questions? Councilmember Osmus.
So my question would be, why wouldn't we accept that donation once we have the full plan? What's the reasoning for doing part of it tonight?
Mr. Bachman could correct me if I'm, or do you want to go ahead?
Mr. Scott.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I think one reason would be now you would have at least $53,000 available to begin the design work when you start reaching your decision points on this project. And the point I would make, I guess, every action the council would need to take to pursue a project, whether it's authorizing the design, identifying the funding source, approving the plans and specs and going out for bid, and ultimately awarding a construction contract, will still have to be completed. This resolution is simply the documentation needed to accept money from a private donor, which is, and establish restrictions on how that money can be spent.
Okay.
And if I may, I got the impression they did not want to do a lump sum. And the construction cannot start until probably April at its earliest in any event.
I just feel like we should move forward with it. This is a huge project. We have acquired almost 1.5 million towards it, and I would just make a motion to adopt the resolution to accept Epitopic's initial donation of $53,000, subject to the condition that such funds be used for the sole purpose of designing and constructing the water line extension to the Epitopic's property to be completed on or before December 31st, 2022.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Councilmember Plowman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It sounds to me like we are in the process of doing our due diligence, and everybody to this point has done their due diligence, that we need to start expending money to get further along in the process. And we have a at least in my vision, we're talking about industrial growth, development, and diversification in our community, which is a good thing. Furthermore, in order to get a good handle on what the entire scope of this project is going to be, if the city is not going to be asked to spend that money, rather that money is being donated to the city to pay for those initial soft costs, that's even more of a plus in my mind. So I think this is a good project. I think we need to, it's all good discussion to have, so that we all are comfortable with and we know where we're at, but that way we continue good propulsion in the right direction. I think this is going to be a good project. So I'm happy to vote on this tonight in the affirmative.
Mr. Backman, could you recite back for us, so the original grant that we applied for included water and sewer?
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, the grant for the Innovative BDPI program was strictly for the sewer. It was strictly for the sewer project. The state of Minnesota only wanted to fund that portion of the project. Originally, when we submitted the application in the fall of 2019, we had both, but they came back to us and said, well, we'll give you another $300,000, but it'll be only for the sewer.
Right. That's what I wanted the council to understand, is that our first grant application was for water and sewer both.
Correct.
When they came back to us and said, will you accept an additional $300,000 if we cover the entire cost of the sewer? That's how we got to where we are today.
Correct.
And that was the work of the EDC. I can't remember, Aaron, if that was you or if it was Connie. I know it was one of you.
It was a joint effort.
And the EDC worked collaboratively to make that project happen. And we really got an additional $300,000. They could have came to us and said, we'll cover the water, which was less. They actually chose to cover the one that was higher. So it's imperative, I think the council understands that too. And a couple of the council members weren't serving at that time, so they're new council members. So I think it's good background information. And I wanted you to share that for the good work that you did. So additional comments, Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you. I am willing to support this motion. I'd somehow like it documented that the statement that's put in here, that the remaining will come from this, be somehow removed or
Right.
changed to be determined how the city of Willmar will. And it's not part of the resolution, so it's part of the documentation, and sometimes those things come back to bite us, that if it's not in the minutes, somehow that we're already stating something we haven't agreed to.
I think that is reasonable. Robert?
Yeah, and as Councilmember Nelson observed, it's not in the resolution itself, that's in the staff report. So I think that can be noted in the minutes.
Okay, thank you. Because the staff report is what we will see later.
Right.
And somehow I just want to make sure it's corrected.
Additional comments or concerns? Roll call.
Councilmember Plowman,
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Osk.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes. On behalf of the city of Willmar and the mayor's office, I want to thank Epitopics for their substantial donation to make this project happen. Aaron, as you stated, I started working on this, I believe the first month I was mayor. I was contacted about this project and asked how we can get this done and how we can make it happen. And I remember in a conversation, I believe it was in 2019 with Rick Heisinga, and he said, Marv, if I'd have known I had to sell Epitopics to make this line go in, I'd have sold it a lot earlier. So, but anyway, so thanks for your staff as well for the work that they did. I know that LSI had worked diligently to try to get this done. And I know that Nate Schuler did a really good job of bringing this project to fruition. So with that, we'll go to a consideration of a resolution to call for public hearing on proposed property tax abatements for tax abatement bonds to finance certain public improvements. Mr. Okins, our finance director.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I do apologize. Mr. Green was planning on attending tonight, but he was planning on attending remotely. And since we don't do that anymore, he had 2 other conflicts that he had bond sales for. So I'm pinch hitting for him. But Included in your packet were 3 actions taken or required or asking for tonight on the 2021B General Obligation Street Improvement and Abatement Bonds. The first item that we're going to be asking you for is to introduce a resolution calling for a public hearing on proposed property tax abatements for the purpose of issuing tax abatement bonds for the public improvements. And this is along the federal bike path project that runs along Lakeland Drive and then runs east along Highway 12. So with that, we would recommend that you introduce a resolution setting a public hearing for August 16th at 6:01.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to set a public hearing for the sale of tax abatement or property tax abatements for tax abatement bonds to finance certain public improvements. Discussion.
Mr. Mayor, if I could add for that, the reason
motion
that
or just,
this is broken out from the general obligation bonds is because of statute. There are no assessments along this route, and so that's a different statute that we have to authorize this borrowing.
So to set the public hearing, is that a resolution or is that a simple motion?
It's a resolution, Mr. Mayor.
Roll call.
Councilmember Nelson.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Osk.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Plowman.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes. Next, we have a resolution to call for public hearing on ordinance authorizing issuance of geo improvement and abatement bonds, Series 2021B. Mr. Wilkins.
This, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, is the abatement, depending on the hearing for the abatement action on the August 16th, would include this in with the general obligation bonds, which would help finance the 2021 street improvement projects, which are underway, as we all know, on 2nd Street and 1st Street. But this would be, again, a resolution. This is a separate hearing, again, recommended to be held on August 16th at 6:02.
Motion to introduce the resolution for public hearing.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Fagerly.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Osk.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Plowman.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes as well. Finance Director Wilkins.
Third action, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, that we're asking for tonight is a resolution providing for the competitive negotiated sale of $3,495,000 in general obligation improvement bond and abatement bonds. The reason that you see the competitive negotiated terminology is that we are doing competitive bids, but the negotiated part is depending on the coupon rates so that we can maintain even debt service payments over the 10-year life of the bond. That allows the bond consultants to negotiate that payment schedule so that it fits into the even debt service amortizations. So we would recommend, again, a resolution providing for that competitive negotiated sale of $3,485,000.
Motion to introduce the resolution.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Osmus.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Osk.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Plowman.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes as well. Mr. Wilkins, are we looking at trying to place any of that money locally?
We are, and that is part of the discussion as well. We will have that comparison as we did last year as far as the difference between placing it locally and the competitive bids.
Okay.
Yes.
And in the past, for the new council members, what we try to do is place that money locally if possible, because that allows the money to work locally versus being sent out. And sometimes we have to pay a little bit more, but the council in the past has felt that it was viable to have that placed locally. And we have had times when it has come in under, so it's come in both.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, 3 out of the last 4 years, we've been able to place those, the debt locally. Last year, we were not because of the differential in the coupon rates. I think it was like 75 basis points. So the council felt that that was just a little bit too much margin to
Right, I forgot that. I forgot we didn't place it last year. So, thank you. Next, we have consideration of an introduction of resolution to call for a public hearing for ordinance authorizing issuance of $16 million general obligation sales tax revenue bonds. Mr. Wilkins.
Again, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, as part of this is the next step in the process to finance the event recreational center and the recreational fields that the council approved the maximum guaranteed price agreements with Marcus Construction. We are looking for a resolution to set a public hearing for August 16th, again at 6:03. The amount that you see here of $16 million is the full amount. If the council remembers, the bids for the event center, recreational center did come in less in the tune of about $400 and some thousand. There also is a contingency amount that we've talked about. This will allow the council to allocate those dollars rather than having to go back out at a second time and issue a smaller issue. The restrictions on these proceeds, again, are restricted by state statute, so that if they're not used for the projects authorized by the legislation giving the local option sales tax, they will go back into the debt service fund to repay the bonds. This also allows the council to be able to look at the amortization schedules and the two projects that have not been financed to date, the community center of $2 million and the stormwater work of $7 million. And that will all be discussed at the public hearing.
Motion to introduce the resolution.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Didn't we spend about $465,000 of the local option sales tax dollars on stormwater already?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I don't remember the exact dollar amount, but there has been dollars spent. On the east side drainage was the primary project for that local option sales tax money.
Correct. Additional comments or questions? Roll call.
Councilmember Butterfield.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Ask.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Plowman.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes as well. Finance Director Wilkins.
Second action,
Council.
Mr. Mayor, is again to introduce a resolution providing for the competitive negotiated sale of $16 million of general obligation sales tax revenue bonds, Series 2021C. This will allow us to do that at the same time, thus saving a small amount of issuing costs, doing the financing both at the same time.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Discussion. Motion been made and seconded to approve a resolution providing for negotiated sale of $16 million general obligation sales tax revenue bonds. Motion been made and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember O'Brien.
Aye.
Ask.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Plowman.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Fagerly. Osmus.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes as well. I'm going to take some chair privilege here and move the update to 2nd Street Southeast so that our staff members that would like to leave and not listen to the discussion on the open forum can do so at the direction of the administrator. But let's talk about that update on 2nd Street Southeast. Ms. Valiant, if you can provide us with that update, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council. Over the last couple weeks, as you know, the 2nd Street has been milled up and opened, and it came to our attention that there was some gas line works that probably needed to have more attention than what we had thought. And came about because the contractor had heard that the gas service lines probably weren't in very good condition. So he wanted to have more clarification on that. And that's where we are right now. CenterPoint Energy has been doing some what they call potholing and looking and determining what the condition of the service lines are. There's 35 service lines crossing 2nd Street, and the gas main sits on the east side of the main. And Jared, you can correct me if I'm wrong here for anything. And so from that, there's 70 households total, I believe, on the project, and 35 of them sit on the west side of the street. So we're in that process right now with CenterPoint Energy to determine that. And they should probably have their full report, I think, finished tomorrow, and we'll know further than how to proceed with Riley Brothers on that.
Well, thank you for bringing this to our attention, and thank you for bringing it to the council for a conversation. I know that I was contacted earlier today by Councilmember Butterfield, and he had a number of constituents that had contacted him. So Councilmember Butterfield, did you have any additional comments, or were you seeking any clarification there?
Their answer.
Okay, Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you, Mayor Calvin. I had been contacted also and had stopped in City Hall earlier this week, and I think that at that time they were still trying to figure out what was going on. And so just the question that I have, is this something that was new after the design, or is this something that was,
Well, it all kind of started because there was questions about the utility lines, and so we thought we had those answered promptly. And then the next day, the contractor came and questioned the gas lines. So it's kind of a surprise to us.
But the gas lines were part of the project also, were they not?
Well, they always are part of the project that they have to deal with. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just,
So I'm going to interject here. I think that we want to be careful how we enter into this or continue down this line, because it could put us in a position of litigation. And so I know that the city attorney is working on this. I met with the city attorney before the meeting tonight. And I think there is a responsibility for the contractor to know that there are generally gas lines in roads when the projects are put together. So continue your questions.
my just comment when I was in there before is just that we have open communication with the people on Second Street. And this has taken a long time for that street to be designed, and we knew it was a complex street. Having gone through it last year on 9th Street, there are always issues and complications. I'm just wanting to make sure that we are clear with communicating with the Second Street folks with what's going on and what kind of time delays there might be.
We'll probably have a clearer picture tomorrow.
Just for comments or questions, Councilmember Osk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. How does this impact the timeline? Is there any kind of
It'll-
estimation for completion?
We'll have a clearer picture as we move forward on all that, because we don't know right now. They have the 90-day contract right now, and so as things move forward, then we'll know further. They've entered into the contract, and that's what it is.
Thank you.
So I think our staff are on top of the issue. It's nice to hear this report. I know a lot of us are getting phone calls on it. I had a couple phone calls last week in regards to it, and you and I talked on Friday after I had received a couple phone calls on Friday. These things happen from time to time. This is why government works the way it does. It tries to work as slow and methodical as it can, and I'm very confident that our staff will be on top of it tomorrow and get the project back online. Our goal is to have it buttoned up yet this year, so additional comments or questions? Okay, thank you for that update. Were there any other updates you wanted to do at this time?
No, I don't think, well, I'm on the next on the list anyway.
Yeah, you're on the next one. Yeah, you're the lead on the next one. So Gary and Jared, if you want to stick around for the discussion, you can, but I wanted to give you the opportunity to do exit stage left if you so choose, so
You have anything
out of
else to add
respect.
to that? Anything that? Thank you.
Okay, next we have consideration of adopting a protocol for the open forum. This was brought to the attention of the council when a couple members of the public had come and asked to approach the city council, and I had removed the item as the chair of the meeting during COVID. I had removed the open forum portion. There were never any time that I was asked by the public to be able to approach the council that I turned that down and did not allow the public to speak. There were a couple council members that asked me if we could address this. We had a robust conversation 4 weeks ago in regards to this, And it is my wish that we continue that conversation after some opening comments by our city administrator. One of the things that we said is we wanted to wait until Ms. Valiant was here and could provide insight to us. And then the council, generally speaking, the council, the mayor would make a recommendation on the open forum. That's how it was done when it was introduced originally. That's how most cities do it. But this is coming kind of at a request to the council, and so we're going to have that conversation, and the council will make the decision on it. So, Ms. Valiant.
So the open forum, talking to interim John Herron on all this too, our recommendation would be that, that the open forum would be allowed in the beginning of the meeting. That way the conversation doesn't end up to be everything that was said during the meeting, and it would be limited to 15 minutes total. If there are groups of conversation, if there's groups that want to speak, that would be limited to a total of 5 minutes for that group, so that would allow more time, some time for somebody else to have a different discussion. They should, if they're a group, they should come together, speak as one, and let us know that that's what they want to do at the beginning of the meeting also. We adjusted the form to reflect the previous form had a 3-minute limit, so if it was a single person with a single issue, they would be limited to 3 minutes. And at that time also, council would just listen, and then really no action would be taken until probably if you could take it up further down in the agenda if you wanted to. But at the time of open forum, there'd be no action at that time. And we would request, the previous one, requested name, street address, and phone number. We have revised that to be that they would print their name, let us know if they reside within the city limits, and what the reason is for addressing the council, along with their phone numbers, so that we could get back to them with any further actions or any further questions that may arise after some investigating of their issue. Any questions? Can I elaborate?
Comments from council or questions for Ms. Valiant? Councilman Nelson.
I'm supportive of moving forward with this. I think they've done their homework, and I think, to me, we do need to find a way to allow, to have an open forum. And granted, we've had issues in the past, and I think if we end up with issues again, and other cities have, we may have to look at revising this, but I think it would be a good way, what's being proposed, to go forward with this, and I think it would be good for us to do that, so.
Okay, additional comments or questions?
I'll make the motion that we adopt the protocol as presented.
Second.
One of those amendments? Just the way it's in the narrative?
Yeah, I think we're okay with, if we run into issues that we have an issue that's more, we could suspend for that night, couldn't we, or?
Certainly.
Yeah. So I'm good with it
Additional
as
comment?
presented.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to adopt it as presented. Additional discussion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion does carry. Thank you, Ms. Valiant.
Thank you.
That'll probably be one of your easiest presentations. I just wanted
Let's hope
to,
it's the hardest.
I'm sorry?
I said, let's hope it's the hardest.
Exactly right. I just wanted to make the council aware of a United Night of Worship that is scheduled to take place on August 29th at 4 p.m. at Robbins Island. There are 19 churches at this time that have collaborated to work, and you've probably been hearing some of the ads on, I've been hearing them on Lakeland Broadcast and KWLM is where I've been hearing them, talking about this event, where there are a number of churches that have come together and said, we want to be a community of unity and work together and collaborative. And I had a conversation with Ms. Valiant in regards to this, about how we can make this a city-sanctioned event. And one of the reasons we need to do that is similar to Rock and Robbins. there is traffic control provided for that. Without the council basically saying that it's a community event, it makes it more problematic for staff to be involved in planning, in doing emergency management consulting, providing traffic direction, some of the facilities that are being requested of staff from Park and Rec, Public Works, those types of things. So it makes it a lot easier, and so I would like to see us have staff work with the organizers of this group for bringing this project to Willmar, and then allocating staff resources to do so. So, Ms. Valiant, I thought that was the best way to present it. We did run it by the city attorney this afternoon to make sure there were no legal ramifications that we were running up against, and he was not aware of any. So I would like to see us move forward with that. If anybody has an objection to that, I'm willing to listen to that. I'm not looking for a motion. I don't think this takes a motion because we haven't done that in the past on other things, but just looking to see that there is council support that this event brings value to the community as a whole, not a single organization. As an example, the One Way Festival, which is happening out there as well, is a benefit for the Fortress, and they would be on their own for their own services for an item like that. So I'm open for discussion if people wish to discuss it. Otherwise, I'd like to direct staff to work with the organizers of this event. So, any comments or questions? I know we don't want to bring things that Councilmember asked. I know you don't want to vote on things, so that's why I'm not asking for a vote. Last time I brought something up, Councilmember Osk on the way out said, "Mr. Mayor, don't put me in a position where I have to vote on something on the night you bring it up." I believe that's somewhat consistent,
I think
correct?
that's what I said. But this one I'm excited for. They asked me to pray for government, so I get to pray for all of you at this event.
Oh, my God.
Try not to reveal secrets in my prayer.
Additional comments or questions? I think this is going to be a great community event that's really going to have a great impact on our community. Another thing that I just want to bring up is that in the past, the Selvig family has brought a lot of investment into the city of Willmar, and at our community center, we have a Selvig room. And the word has gotten out to the Selvig family that we're looking at doing something different with the community center potentially. And so they had contacted myself and said, we just want to make sure that our family legacy is remembered. And they used an example on some of the things that happened at Rice Hospital, which is now Caris Health, as far as some pictures and some statues and, well, not statues, but plaques, those types of things. And so the family is just requesting that we remember the Selvig family. And I just want to publicly, as from the mayor's office, thank the Selvig family for the vision they had for this community back in the 1800s, in the substantial financial contributions that were made to the community through the Selvig family, where those dollars came to benefit Willmar. That should not go unnoticed. And so as the council proceeds, as Finance Director Olken stated earlier tonight, when you come to the point of having to deal with the community center, I would certainly request that the council remember to have something in, if we move the community center, that is a remembrance to the Selvig family in the substantial contribution that they have made to our community. So if other council members have comments they'd like to make in regards to that, I'm open for that. But I just want to make the council aware of that and just something to have in the back of your mind. So,
Mayor Kelly.
Councilmember Nelson.
Selvig Park
Downtown.
has, they have a little bit of funds that they have worked with, et cetera. So this is a separate process, or would who's ever in charge of that, or has that become the city obligation right now, or city responsibility for Selvig Park? I wasn't quite sure where those funds there. I knew there were funds, and Mayor Hoagland used to work with that, and so I wasn't sure what had happened with it since then.
Yeah, the Kiwanis Club holds those funds.
Okay.
And the Kiwanis Club forwards those funds at the direction of the Public Works Director, as I recall. We hold the funds?
Yes. Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we have a $30,000 trust escrow for the Selvig Park, and the earnings from that trust pays for a portion of the maintenance.
So what does the Kiwanis Club do?
I'm not aware of that, Mr. Mayor. I don't know.
I was a member of Kiwanis for 12 years, and I know they have money there too. I think, but the substantial money, it sounds like it's with so it's a dedicated fund?
Yes, sir. The former mayor, Hoagland,
Yep.
was instrumental in obtaining that and setting that up.
Maybe Kiwanis will tell us after they hear this what
Sure.
they're doing.
Ms. Valiant, can you reach out to the Kiwanis Club and just kind of see what they've got there? So this is specifically for when the community center, with the request the family had. So it was nothing with Selvig Park, it was more with what was done by former councils. Councilmember Welsh, former Councilmember Welsh is with us. And I'm sure remembers when that room was probably dedicated, probably. You don't remember. You're getting old. So, okay, so that's what I want. Did any other council members have anything they want to add under community pride announcements? Councilmember Osmus.
I wasn't sure if you were going to mention it, but we are recognizing National Night Out in Willmar tonight. Was that on your list? Am I stealing your thunder?
Had not received that.
Okay,
So,
so we just want to say thank you to the people who did organize their events tonight. First Reformed Church over on 15th Street. I saw they had the fire trucks and the ambulance, and the police were there. And then the Garfield neighborhood, of course, they always have
and
their.
Nelson.
Yep, and lined that up, and they had, same thing, all the service people were there, and also utilities and Target, and so they were doing a great job over there, and they had a potluck supper going. So just thanks to those neighborhoods that put together National Night Out events.
Perfect. Anybody else? Ms. Valiant, anything else? Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We're adjourned.